good evening, everyone, and welcome to a special Saturday afternoon edition of The Road to Miami. I'm your host, Amondo Black, doing a solo dolo today here this evening. I hope, first of all, I would like to wish everyone happy holidays, and I hope everyone had a very safe, happy, and blessed Christmas. Um, we didn't get a chance to do, hardly any lives during the Christmas holidays. Some things just, you know, want to spend time with family and enjoy my Christmas, and some things just have to take a back burner when it comes to family. Family is always first. So but you guys, it's playoff time. We're in playoff mode. We're in the quarterfinals. Last time that we went live, we did a recap of the first round games. I pretty much gave you my opinions of the first round games. And now today, we are going to talk about the quarterfinals. And we're going to start it off with the game that will be played on New Year's Eve in Dallas, Texas, in the Cotton Bowl between those 10th ranked Miami Hurricanes and the number 2 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Now these two teams, the point spread, if I'm not mistaken, is at 9.5. These two teams are a lot more similar than a lot of you think. Both teams have locked down great elite defenses, and both teams have struggled offensively. Although both teams have weapons, they have guys that will be playing on Sundays. If you look at Ohio State, they have Carnell Tate, and they have, in my opinion, arguably the best wide receiver in the nation, and Jeremiah Smith. At running back, Bo Jackson. Let's take a look at the Miami Hurricanes. And those two wide receivers are elite, and they will definitely be playing on Sundays as well. CJ Daniels and Malachi Tony. Malachi Tony is a do-it-all type of wide receiver. He can hurt you from the backfield. You can put him in a slot. You can use him as a gadget player. You can throw him a post route, and he can hurt you that way. This kid, he's a freshman. He's going to be around for a while, and I wouldn't doubt that we may be looking at a Heisman finalist for next year. Malachi Tony, as you know, he scored the winning touchdown against the Texas A&M Aggies. So this kid is special. This kid is special. The future looks very, very bright for the University of Miami. If you're a Miami fan, you should be basking in your glory, because not only did you have a damn good year this year, and a lot of people didn't really think that Miami would be a playoff team. If you remember the preseason when we talked about the ACC, it was all about Clemson and the SMU. No one really saw Miami coming. Now we knew Miami would be a little improved on defense, but not like this. Nothing like this. And this team is a problem. They're going to be a problem. So, as I said earlier, they're going to be matched up against the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Cotton Bowl, and that is going to be woo. That is going to be interesting ball game. Definitely going to be an interesting ball game. Um, Now let's take a look at Ohio State, and let's take a look at why a lot of people feel that Ohio State is going to win this game. Ohio State right now has the number 1 ranked defense. They lead the nation in takeaways. They lead the nation in havoc plays. They're hard to run on, and they're in the top 10 in red zone defenses. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't ask for anything better than that. Um, that we haven't seen a defense most of the time when defenses are ranked this high, when they're ranked this high, they go on to win national titles. This is definitely a national championship winning defense. Now, however, in the words of the great Vincent Turner, however, let's look at who they played, because that matters. Who you play matters. Let's take a look at who they played. Now, there are two toughest opponents this year, and I'm talking about the regular season. Texas and Indiana. Okay, so I know the Big Ten, I'm sorry, Texas and Michigan. Texas and Michigan. Okay, now, Michigan fell off. By the end of Michigan they had a lot of internal mess going on. So you can't really look at that game because that Michigan team was a shell of itself. Texas, they only scored 14 points against Texas. Let's look at the two elite defenses that they faced, because Michigan's defense was not elite. Let me just say that. The two elite defenses that they faced, the season opener against Texas. The season opener against Texas. Okay. Texas was a preseason number one. Preseason number one in the SEC, preseason number one. They had a preseason Heisman favorite and Arch Manning coming into Columbus, Ohio. The final score of that game was 14-7. Ohio State only managed to score 14 points. The offense did. That was the first elite defense that they saw. They would not see another elite defense until that first Saturday in December in Indianapolis when they faced off against the Indiana Hoosiers, the number one seeded Indiana Hoosiers. And they were only able to score 10 points in that game. That's the offensive side of Ohio State. Now, defensively against Texas, go back to the Texas game. They only allowed 7 points. Indiana, they only allowed Indiana 13 points. And it's Ohio State defenses. If I have to pick a team with the best defense in the nation right now, they are it. This defense is for real, and this defense is a problem. And I think this is the reason why Ohio State is in the position that it's in now, gearing up to go on another championship run or even go back-to-back to be the first team to do it since my Georgia Bulldogs did it in 2021 and 2022. But on the flip side of it, Miami has a hell of a defense too. They have a hell of a defense. Ruben Baines Jr., Mesidor, Keontae Scott, those guys, Fitzgerald in the defensive back. That defense is solid. That defense can give Ohio State some problems. Now, if Miami can keep this thing low scoring, like Indiana did, and the way they did against Texas A&M, Miami could pull off the upset. Plain and simple. Miami could pull off the upset. If they can keep that offense off the field, if they can keep Julian Sand, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Bo Jackson, if they can stop the run the way they did against Texas A&M, keep that offense off the field and sustain long drives, Miami has a chance to win this game. Now, a lot of Ohio State fans are really looking past Miami, and they're looking to the next round at either Georgia or Ole Miss. They really want Georgia. They really want my Georgia Bulldogs because they have not gotten over what happened a couple of years ago in the Peach Bowl when my Georgia Bulldogs beat them. Came from behind 2 touchdowns and beat them and went on to win a national title. But that's neither here or there. Ohio State fans, you need to take this Miami team very, very serious. Reason number one, Ohio State is nowhere near on the level that they were last year offensively. This Ohio State team is not a juggernaut that it once was last year. Fact. This Ohio State running game is not elite like it was last year. And that could hurt later on down the line. If you get past Miami and you have to see my Georgia Bulldogs or Ole Miss, you're going to need a running game. That running game is going to need to show up because both Ole Miss and Georgia have damn good secondaries. Now, when Ohio State was only able to score 14 points against Texas, I chopped it up as maybe it's just first game jitters. But we go to championship week, which the offense should be gelling by that time, and you only managed to score 10 points against that Indiana defense. Oh, that's a problem. That's a problem. Ohio State is going to have to jump out early and often on this Miami team. You don't want to get in a rock fight. You don't want to get in a phone booth type football game with this Miami team. You don't, in other words, you don't want to play a game like it was in Indy, a 13-10, 10-10 type situation. You don't want that because Miami, that would be advantage Miami. Because Miami's O-line is a little better than Ohio State's O-line. That is Ohio State's weakness, that O-line. How well they can protect Julian Sand. Now, if we're going to talk about weaknesses, we're going to talk about weaknesses on both sides. This Miami team, and I'm not just speaking for this Cotton Bowl game. I've been saying it for the entire season. This Miami team is stacked, loaded, but it only has one weakness. One weakness. Carson Beck. Carson Beck. See, Miami fans, do you want the truth or do you want lies? Because I can come on here and sell you a whole bunch of boatload of champagne wishes and caviar pipe dreams. Or I can come on here and tell you the truth. You see, you Miami fans, you know the truth, but you don't want to admit it out loud. Carson Beck is a liability. And we all know, hell, your coach knows this. That's why he put the game in the hands of Fletcher. On that last drive, he ordered Carson Beck, do not throw that ball. You hand it off to Mark Fletcher Jr. And that's what happened. Fletcher to the left, Fletcher to the right, Fletcher up the gut. Because he don't trust Carson Beck. He don't trust Carson Beck. This is a $4 million quarterback. He's not a game manager. Carson Beck was not brought to Miami to be a damn game manager. Carson Beck was not paid $4 million to come to Miami and turn around and hand the damn ball off to Mark Fletcher. But that's what he's been reduced to, because the reason why y'all lost to Louisville was because of Carson Beck. Carson Beck threw the pick in the end zone in that SMU game. And I'm not saying this ain't got nothing to do with him leaving Georgia and going to Miami, because to be honest with you, we got the better end of that deal. See, Garner came along and beat teams that Carson Beck was not able to beat last year. Carson Beck lost to Ole Miss and he lost to Bama. Garner beat Ole Miss and he beat Bama this year. Carson led us to 2 back-to-back SEC titles. Carson Beck never led us to an SEC. He was on the sidelines in 2022 when Stetson led us to a SEC title. And he was on the sidelines watching last year when Garner had to come in and bring us from behind to beat Texas. So this is no Carson Beck hate. This is the truth that I'm spitting out here. Carson Beck is a liability. You know that. You Miami fans know this. Y'all were happy as hell when Cristobal on that last drive, when he decided to keep it on the ground, hand it off to Fletcher. Because between Fletcher and Malachi Tony, those two pretty much are carrying the offense. And it shouldn't be like that, because you have a $4 million fifth-year senior quarterback, and you got 2 of the best wide receivers in the nation. And you got a running back that can catch the ball out of the backfield and can take it to the house on any given play. But you can't trust Carson Beck. Just like, and a lot of you Miami fans, you love to bring up the 0-2 game with Ohio State. Oh, this is revenge. This is get back. Let's talk about that game. Let's talk about 2002. Because you see, even though I'm a lifelong Georgia Bulldog fan, I was pulling for Miami that night. Hell, I had money on Miami that night. So I remember that game like it was yesterday. Larry Coker made a huge mistake. For whatever reason, he decided to take the ball out of Willis McGahee's hands in the first half and put the ball in the hands of Ken Dorsey. Just like Louisville, just like SMU, for whatever reason, Cristobal decided to take the ball out of the hands of Fletcher and put it in the hands of Carson Beck. You see, when I look at Carson Beck reminds me of this guy. Do you Miami fans remember this guy? Do you remember him? Do you remember him from that night in Tempe, Arizona, on that January 2003 night in Tempe, Arizona? Remember, that's Ken Dorsey. That's who cost you the game. And I don't want to hear none of that BS excuse about, well, the O-line didn't play well. The O-line, no. Ken Dorsey was reckless with the ball that night. The O-line played pretty good. They didn't play their best, but they played pretty good. Because Willis McGahee had a damn good night. When Coker finally came to his senses and decided to put the ball back in the hands of Willis McGahee, Willis McGahee took over that game before he went down with that injury, with that knee injury. Then Kellen Winslow Jr. took over the game. So it wasn't the offensive line, it was Ken Dorsey being reckless with the ball, throwing dumbass interceptions that cost Miami the game. And I'm saying that to say this. Don't let it happen Wednesday night with Carson Beck. Because Carson Beck, and I'm telling you from experience, because he cost us an SEC title in 2023 and a chance to three-peat. He cost us 2 games last year. And he cost Miami 2 games this year. Miami could easily be undefeated right now. And a number 1 seed. Miami could easily be undefeated right now if it wasn't for Carson Beck. And just like Dorsey, Carson Beck does not handle blitz-heavy teams, blitz-heavy defenses. And Ohio State is a blitz-heavy defense. And even if you do manage to get past Ohio State, Georgia is a blitz-heavy defense. The defenses that you're going to face the rest of the way like to blitz. Whether it's Georgia or Ole Miss, both Ole Miss and Georgia, they like to blitz. But Ohio State, this defensive front, Carson Beck ain't seen a defense like this his entire college football career. Because when he was at Georgia, we never faced a defense like what he's going to see Wednesday night. Never. A bunch of NFL talent, a defense loaded with NFL talent. That's what Carson Beck is going to be facing. And if he couldn't handle that Louisville pressure and that SMU defensive front, what the hell makes you think he's going to be able to handle that Ohio State, that loaded, elite, loaded with NFL talent, Ohio State defensive front? So my advice to Cristobal and whoever is calling the offensive plays for Miami, my advice would be to put the ball in the hands of Fletcher. It may be your only hope and chance of beating Ohio State. And the defense is going to do their job. That Miami defense, one thing I can guarantee, that Miami defense is going to do its job. But if I'm a Canes fan, my biggest concern would be Carson Beck costing Miami the game, because he can be a liability in games like this. This is no hate. This is no shade. This is just the damn truth. I'm not going to make my pick here tonight. I'm going to wait until the pregame show on Wednesday that we'll be doing 2 hours before kickoff on New Year's Eve. But this point spread, 9.5 point spread, is egregious. It makes no sense. This game is not going to be a blowout. Like a lot of experts are predicting that Ohio State is going to blow Miami out. No, hell, I don't see that happening. I don't see that happen. Miami is a well-balanced team with an elite defense. They can stop the run. They can stop the pass. They're hard to pass on, and they're even harder to run on. And we saw that Ohio State offense struggle against that Indiana defense. And in my opinion, I think this Miami defense has more elite players on it than that Indiana defense. So you all be the judge. What do you think? Do you think that Ohio State is just going to go out there Wednesday night and run all over this Miami defense? Or do you think this is going to be a game? I think this is going to be a game, and I think this game could go down to the wire. And don't be surprised if there's a situation late in the game where Miami has the ball and they're down by a touchdown, the running game ain't clicking. Because I honestly don't think what Fletcher did to that Aggies defense, I don't think he'll be able to do it to Ohio State's defense. In order for Miami this time, in order for Miami to beat this Ohio State team and to be able to score on this Ohio State defense, they're going to need Carson Beck to step up. Fletcher can keep them in the game, but eventually they're going to need Carson Beck to make some elite throws, some playoff throws, some NFL type throws on that elite Ohio State secondary. And trust and believe now that Ohio State defense can get after the quarterback. Just like Miami has Baines, Messador, and Keontae Scott, Ohio State has Curry, Reese, and Sonny Styles, which a lot of people are comparing Sonny Styles to Lawrence Taylor. So I can't wait. This is going to be a game. I'm expecting a defensive battle, but a final score could be somewhere around 23-20, 24-21. Either way, I think it'll come down to whichever team has the ball last, and what's going to decide the game is whichever quarterback makes the fewest mistakes, or whichever quarterback makes the crucial mistake of turning the ball over to the other team. That's what I think it's going to come down to. How well can Ohio State run on this Miami defense? And how well can Fletcher run on this Ohio State defense? If Fletcher is not able to move the ball on that Ohio State defensive front, that could be a problem early in the game. That could be a problem because I just don't see Carson Beck being able to pass for 200, maybe 300 yards on that Ohio State defense. And I'm just going by what he's done in his career against elite defenses. But we'll see. We'll see. Sometimes you can't go by the past. Sometimes you have to go by the here and now. But the here and now starts Wednesday night. And where we are at now, the quarterfinals. The winner of this game goes on to Scottsdale, Arizona, to the Fiesta Bowl to play the winner of the Ole Miss Rebels and my Georgia Bulldogs. I can't wait for this game. Miami and Ohio State. Out of all the games that's being played this weekend, this is one of the most anticipated ones. So why it's at 9.5 point spread, I have no idea. No earthly idea. I think it's a Vegas bait. That's what I think it is. I think the spread is too big. Because these two teams, both of these teams have elite talent on them. It's going to come down to quarterback play. It's going to come down to Julian Sand and Carson Beck. Which quarterback can play 60 minutes of making the fewest mistakes? On that note, Everyone, I want to thank you all for coming out. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Hey, we're in playoff mode. We're in the quarterfinals. We're down to the Elite Eight. The group of 5 teams are gone, and the pretenders are gone. Because I really do believe that Oklahoma and Texas A&M were pretenders. I think the playoff committee got it right. The playoff committee was validated. Letting Bama and Miami into the playoffs, they were validated. And in my honest opinion, I don't think Notre Dame could have beaten Texas A&M, and I damn sure don't think they could have beaten Oklahoma. I don't think BYU could have beaten either one of them either. So, shout out to the committee for getting it right. Everyone, thank you for coming out. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Peace and blessings to you. Everyone, like I said earlier, I will be making my pick on this game Wednesday evening on the kickoff show before a couple of hours before the kickoff of the Cotton Bowl. So everyone, get your popcorn ready. Join us here Wednesday night. The game kicks off at 7:30. I think the start time will be we'll crank it up at 5 o'clock here, 5 o'clock here, right here on this channel, the kickoff show. So everyone, peace and blessings. Love you all. Thank you for coming out. If I didn't shout you out personally, please don't take it personal. I was just trying to go ahead and get through this, without having to stop and shout people out individually. So I'm giving everyone a big shout out right now at the end of this video, and pieces and blessings to you all, and much love, and thank you all for supporting the platform. Just know I love and appreciate each and every one of you for supporting the platform. So we'll be back tomorrow to preview the Orange Bowl and the Rose Bowl. So everyone, uh, get your popcorn ready, because we're going to it's playoff talk the rest of the way. Everyone, peace and blessings. I'm Amondo Black, and this has been the road to Miami. Until next time, be blessed, everyone. And like I always say, no matter what, at the end of the day, it's always going to be go dogs, sick 'em. Woo, 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 woo. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night, everyone.